Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of Surrounded by Bourbon with me, Phil Crawford, aka Cosmo Whiskey. This is episode 32 and today we are looking at the Elijah Craig Small Batch Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So the last video, which was a JMB Rare, a disaster of a whiskey, we were kind of chatting about the fact that whiskey has like kind of widely spread tropes, and we kind of found ourselves in a similar territory today with Elijah Craig. So Elijah Craig was a Baptist preacher and an entrepreneur who originally was from Virginia but moved to Kentucky in the 1780s, and he is on record as building the first paper and wool mills in the town of Georgetown, Kentucky. And as lore would have it, he is also the father of bourbon whiskey. So the story goes that an accidental fire charred the inside of his storage barrels at one of his mills, and instead of discarding the barrels, he then used these to store his corn whiskey, and discovered that aging in those barrels improved the flavour and quality of the whiskey, and in so doing, bourbon was born. So that is a very nice story, but there is absolutely no historical evidence to back it up. However, Elijah Craig is widely acknowledged that as an entrepreneur and a distiller, his efforts in the industry, the whiskey industry, were really pivotal in the development of the industry at that time. Now, Elijah Craig as a brand only actually came to market in 1986, made by Heaven Hill Distillery. And it launched as a 12-year-old bourbon, which was a bit of a risk because in the late 80s, bourbon's popularity was really, as with whiskey in general, whether it was Irish, Scotch, whatever, the popularity of bourbon was waning worldwide. But Heaven Hill, they kind of wanted to try to promote bourbon as a more premium product. Not something that was lesser than Scotch or Irish whiskey, and so thought that it was appropriate to put an age statement bottle out, and it was the Elijah Craig 12-year-old, because they felt that even if things were in a bit of a doldrum at that time, that bourbon's popularity would once again rise, and correct they were. In fact, the Elijah Craig 12-year-old was so popular that by 2016, Heaven Hill actually decided to remove the age statement, and the small batch was born. And this meant that they could pull whiskey from barrels that were 8 years or so and older to vat together to produce their whiskey. So, as I say, this is a Heaven Hill brand from the Heaven Hill Distillery. They use a mash bill of 78% corn, 12% malted barley and 10% rye, and this is a blend of 8 to 12-year-old bourbon whiskey, and apparently each batch is anywhere between 100 to 200 barrels. So not terribly small batches, you know, it's quite a lot of bottles going out of that. It is 47% ABV or 94 proof. This cost me $27 at Total Wine, so that's about £20.50 or €23.50. So is it worth the money? Is it something I can recommend? Well, let's crack on with the nose and let's see what we can get. So if I just sum this up in 3 words, I would say sweet, light and woody. It's definitely not the most intense nose that I've smelt from a bourbon, even at that kind of proof. But there's some of the usual kind of characters: vanilla, caramel, there's some marshmallow in there as well, there's peanut brittle, there's ginger and allspice. There's even a little bit of like freshly sliced lemon, and then a slight earthy mustiness in there too. A little bit of leather, maybe just a little hint of tobacco. And there's oak, but it's really quite mild. It's definitely not the most assertive bourbon nose. Okay, so let's go for the palate and see what we can get. Mouthfeel wise, it's kind of on the watery side of medium. Just starting to verge into like thin territory. There's a little spice on arrival. That peanut brittle from the nose is definitely there. There's like wintergreen, some cask char, vanilla, sweet peach tea. Definitely like peach going on in there. Some white pepper, there's ginger, slight chili heat, like dried chili flakes, and then again just a mild oakiness kind of coming through. Let's see what we get with the finish then. So finish wise, kind of shortish. It's short to medium. There's some caramel, there's allspice, there's a little bit of oak. Yeah, that's kind of it. What am I going to score this? I think I'm going to score this middle of the road, 5 out of 10. You know, if you're new to this channel or you've not seen my videos before, I use a 10-point scale. 5 is average, but it's fine. You know, it's a very drinkable whiskey. Nothing really wrong with it. It's just not terribly exciting. It's not the most complex bourbon in the world. But yeah, it's very drinkable. Worth the money. Definitely not as expressive as the old 12-year-old was. But you know, it's readily available. It's cheap enough to be kind of like a daily sipper, but obviously drink responsibly. It's fine to use as a cocktail base, if that is your thing. But yeah, that's kind of it. It's I kind of do think for like not a whole lot more money you can get more like better bourbons. That'll give you a little bit of a better experience. As I say, look, 5 out of 10. That's grand, does the job. And yeah, next time we will be visiting Ireland for the next review. Thank you very much for watching, and please like and share, subscribe, leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think about other Elijah Craig expressions. I've never tried the 18, probably won't because it's pretty expensive. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Elijah Craig as a brand. As I say, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, have a great night. Sláinte.